everyone. No, let's see. I think it's calming down. Okay, we are going to start this meeting. It is 5:32, February 2nd, 2024. This is a special board meeting. First, we're going to quickly ask that anyone who else has public comment, get their comment cards, and we're going to give you a 5-minute window right now to complete that. And then public comments will be closed. Your opportunity to submit for public comment will be closed. And that goes for anyone online as well on Zoom. So please type in the form so we know where you are. Thank you. And if we don't see a lot of papers come up, we might wrap that up quicker.
Please submit their papers to Anna.
Yes, please submit your papers to Anna Russell right here. Thank you. Okay, so thank you. We're gonna proceed with roll call
President Nakatani,
here.
trustee Sernsic-Hodge,
Present.
trustee Abdoli, trustee Yu, and I am trustee Katz, and I'm present.
Thank you. Could I get a, we want to move the opportunity for public comment. I think we're gonna have our presentation first, so our public can comment after they hear the presentation. Could I get a motion to change that order?
I move to change that order.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We will move public comment to after the presentation. And have we received a lot more public comment forms? And we have one online, so we'll give them one more minute because those online forms can take a while. Oh, there's a few more forms coming out. Pick one or two. Two would be. Okay.
There's more.
Yeah. Is there two more? Okay, so it looks like we have 27 comments. And we normally allow for 20 minutes for public comment on a special board meeting. I'd like to ask if we can extend that. I want to ask my other trustees if we can extend that by 10 minutes so we can allow 30 minutes total for public comment, which would allow everyone basically a minute for public comment. Because there's now, okay, yeah, so we have roughly 30. We have about 30. And we're going to close the period for submitting for public comment. Everyone will have a minute. The timer is over here and we'll go through that process again after we hear the presentation. Okay, thank you. And thank you. We will go straight into our issue item. Thank you.
Yeah, we're good to go. Good evening. My name is Julio Arroyo, Director of Maintenance Operations and Safety for the Mill Valley School District. Tonight I have with me our construction and program managers with AECOM. That's Brett Mitchell, who's the principal in charge, as well as Sandrine Hitchcock from who's the program manager. As well as we have our general contractor for the Mill Valley School District project, which is Flint. And representing them, who's their principal, is Ryan Tognetti. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is we're requesting direction from the school board regarding exploration of the use of the district field adjacent to the Mill Valley Middle School as a possible site for the reconstruction of the Mill Valley Middle School main building. Next slide, please. So as part of the district's bond measure, we investigated all available options for its building program. This included a detailed survey and title search. Upon completion of this investigation, the district's property boundaries were confirmed, and it was also confirmed that the field is district-owned property. As a result, this district is now able to consider additional options for the middle school project that will lead to less disruption to the students and staff in the entire Mill Valley school community. Next slide, please. So this is some site background. And so since July 2023, we've been working with our architect team, who is Leonakis, and AECOM as well. So since that process, we've been evaluating our school district sites. The first goal was to look at all our school district sites to see what is the best placement for the Mill Valley Middle School as we look for this project. And so after reviewing that information with the school board and presenting the options and the pros and cons, it was considered that the Mill Valley School current campus is the best option for the project. And therefore, we received board direction to build the Mill Valley Middle School project on the existing site and to explore options for temporary student classrooms. So at that same time in December is when we completed, as I previously discussed, our boundary investigation. And that's when we were able to see that during the title search that we did have the property that's adjacent to, also known as Friends Field, as an opportunity to build on. And so that's the background of how we got to this point. Next slide, please. So overall, for the Mill Valley Middle School project, we're looking at options ranging from $115 million to $130 million proposed for hard construction costs. And so as we've been discussing and planning is we're looking at $20 million that would be needed from the state through their matching state fund program to complete the middle school construction. And so that's one of the avenues that we're looking for additional funding from. And that's pending based off a state bond initiative that is upcoming in November 2024. And so also as we've been exploring temporary student classrooms, the estimated costs that we've received from AECOM as well as from Line-August and Flint is $15 million for hard construction costs needed for temporary portable classrooms to house students and staff during the construction. So these funds would be expended for this temporary classroom construction on the temporary short-term facilities, which would need to be removed after the completion of the middle school construction. And so some of the benefits of we're looking at the rationale for exploring the property adjacent to the Mill Valley Middle School, also known as Friends Field, is a coherence of instructional program and Mill Valley Middle School student experience. That's some of the feedback that we've received from our community meetings as well as steering committee is really want to maintain that coherence and the experience for our students, as well as it gives us an opportunity for additional fiscal stewardship. So on our conservative preliminary estimated numbers, we're looking at $6 to $8 million in savings by not having to build a temporary campus and relocating the main building on the fields. And so that's a conservative preliminary estimate at this point. And in addition, we would not have to create a temporary campus and a limited classroom space. This would end in additional waste, and it's just really more of environmental stewardship. And so also it gives us the opportunity to build the main building farther away from the sewer plant and away from the smells that emit from the sewer plant from time to time. Next slide, please. And so the considerations that by using the field property is the temporary displacement of sports, baseball, soccer, lacrosse, et cetera, for local youth, temporary displacement of the festival, the Mill Valley Music Festival, as well as the Kiddo Memorial Day Carnival Festival, as well as impact to city parks and recreation due to a lack of access to district fields during the construction. And when I was giving my $68 million savings initiative is part of that includes rebuilding fields to replace the ones that would no longer be right next to the community center. They would be on this property here. So part of that savings includes building new fields to replace those at the time of our new building is constructed, and then we demolish this building. So for the timeline, I'm going to have Sandrine kind of give us an overview of the timeline and just some of our critical timeline decisions revolving around it.
So the reason we're asking to explore this option is that we have essentially a critical path with the middle school construction. If the option the district elects to proceed with includes temporary classrooms, we need to start putting together the documents, the design, getting the permits in time so that we are ready to start construction in 2025. And that critical path is next month, this March. So in March, we will ask the board to make a decision on which conceptual option the district would like to proceed with. So that's really the timeline we have between now and March to explore that additional option and make a decision.
Thank you. Next slide. And so for the next steps, we have our next board meeting, which is next Thursday. And so that's our regular board meeting where we will come back to the board, the school board to review our conceptual design options as well as the budget, requesting a budget approval for the project. And then following that, we're going to have a meeting on February 13th with our steering committee to get further feedback on our programmatic needs, as also additional feedback of the conceptual design process. As well as that night, we will have a community and staff meeting. And so the way we've been setting this up is that we have our community and staff meetings a week after our school board meetings. It gives us an opportunity to have more dialogue outside of a school board in terms of representing that information, be able to have more conversation with the public and get further feedback. And then March 7th, we would be coming back to the board to make a decision and requesting approval for conceptual design, including the temporary campus, as well as the budget. So that's for tonight. We're requesting direction from the board regarding the exploration of the use of the district field adjacent to the Mill Valley Middle School as a possible site for reconstruction of the Mill Valley Middle School main building. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go into board deliberation and discussion, we're going to go to public comment now. And I have a few words to say just about this whole process. So starting from the beginning. Good evening. On behalf of the Board of Education, I want to welcome you to tonight's meeting. You are here because you care. You care to learn what the board is discussing regarding options for renovating our middle school and to share your thoughts, questions, and concerns. Please know that we are committed to hearing all points of view on all topics that the board must address. We ask that you join us in participating in a civil and respectful manner, mindful always that we are models for our children. Thank you. Before we begin, I want to clarify the purpose of tonight's special meeting, outline how we will take public comments both tonight and following tonight's meeting, and what the next steps will be that you can remain informed and engaged. And you can just see from Julio's slide when the next meetings are coming up. I know to many in this room, this process may feel rushed. However, it has been going on since we've been engaging with community forums and engaging with our city partners since last September. We started talking about the use of the field. We've had many community input meetings. I know they're open to the entire community. You don't have to be a parent, and we have made, outreach to try and get people in to hear their voices and hear their concerns. We will continue to have more. From the outset, we know that members of our community are concerned by the board's discussion about how Friends Field may be used to accommodate stages of our remodel and renovation. So we want to make sure that absolutely no decision has been made regarding using the field. I'll repeat that, no decision has been made. A flyer circulated encouraging folks to attend tonight's meeting, concerned that the board's action might compromise Little League, soccer club, lacrosse. I'm sure I'm forgetting some sports, but my kids played sports on these fields. I know them all too. And other popular uses of the field. We want you to know that no decision, again, has been made. We are here to provide the best education and educational environment for our students. And it is this board's responsibility to ensure that our staff research and explore all the options available to us as we renovate the middle school. Again, I want to stress that no decisions are being made. This presentation, your public comments, the community engagement forums, and then letters to the board will help inform our work. In the past months, we heard our community loud and clear to find an alternate site, and this new development gives us that opportunity, and given the estimated significant cost savings, we have a fiduciary responsibility to conduct a rigorous study. This board understands how the field is used by sports and community events. We will be listening with great respect. Thank you for coming. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to hear about the new information that has come to our attention that does present us with options to consider using the field. Specifically, title reports conducted before beginning work on the project have confirmed that the district owns the property. This point will be explained or has been explained. So given that, we will now go into public comments. As I mentioned, we have roughly 30 people. We're going to spend about 30 minutes on it. Everyone has a minute. There's a timer right here. It's set to 1 minute. I ask that anyone coming up, please be mindful of it, because I really don't want to have to interrupt you. I want to listen to you thoughtfully. I want to take my own notes. That's what we do up here when we're typing. And I don't want to have to use this to stop you. So please be mindful of the clock. I'll be watching it, and I would ask that all speakers watch it as well. Thank you. I think we'll go with the first person. Is there any other, before we begin? Are we good? I'm just looking at the rest of my board. Okay, thank you. First person is Urban Carmel. And thank you, Urban. I might ask a few people to line up too, so we can expedite the process. John Orofino is after Urban. And Dennis Fisco is after John, and Rich is after Dennis. And then Emily, you're after Rich, I think. Wait, what did I say? Yes, you're after Rich. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Urban.
Great, thanks. So I had actually prepared about 3 minutes of discussion, but I'll try to condense it down to one. So I'm Urban Carmel. I'm the mayor of the city of Mill Valley. Thank you very much for having this meeting tonight. The city of Mill Valley and the school district are separate entities. You've got your own administration, your own budget, your own board. And so does the city, but we have a long history of working together. This was city land, and the school district land was across where the public safety building is. In the 1960s, we made a decision to swap those two. Why? It was the right planning decision. It put the school in the right position. And that's the attitude that we take in Mill Valley to get the city to where it is today, to make the city the beloved place that it is today. The Mill Valley Community Center is a beloved institution. Friends Field is our city's living room. It's where we meet for games and for weddings. It's where we do graduations. This is the place that we all meet. And we have thousands of people meeting here every single year to enjoy the things. It is irreplaceable. Is that my 60 seconds? Can I just say one more minute, please?
Oh, no,
We
we have to honor everyone.
30 seconds.
I'm going to stick to protocol. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Continue. You can
Thanks.
boo me. John, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to take all the emotion out and talk about finances. You've waited 4 years and it was, I grant you, you inherited this problem, you didn't create it. So that's a problem. Number one, you've waited 4 years to get financing in the lowest interest rate in the history of the United States. To now do this when the cost of supplies and labor is at an all-time high is misguided. Number two, this property sits on a garbage dump that has been capped and was determined not usable for a structure of the kind that you're planning to put up there. So when someone said that you're going to save $9 million between the interest rate that you're going to be paying to the banks and to the public for these bonds, coupled with the fact that you're now going to build it on that site is wrong. So think about it.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. Okay, yeah.
Oh, hi, Dennis. Thank you.
Good evening, Dennis Fisco, former mayor. I was on the founding committee that started the community center project in 1987, so I know the history very well. And if someone had asked me about it, I would have been happy to tell you the whole history. I'm not going to address all these other issues that come up tonight, but just on the history, the fact that this field has been run by the city on behalf of the whole community for 25 years, and there have been no issues, is a testament to how the partnership between the school district and the city has worked for all these years. I spoke to a few former school district members today, Leslie Wachtel, Bonnie Freiberg, and Paula Reynolds. They know the history of this field. They were around when we did the deal. I just strongly urge you to take a step back and have your advisors review the history and the constraints that this site has. And I strongly urge you to consider the damage you will be doing to whatever goodwill you still have. And lastly, I'm just going to say, respectfully, anyone that agrees with the first three speakers, just raise your hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, Rich.
Rich Robbins. The genesis of the project of the community center in Friends Field came about because we needed a core center for the community. A core center that had all ages of the community coming together. For the community center, for kids on the fields, for the middle school and for the Redwoods. And it has worked. It's been there. It's sacred. It's all our events. As someone who, as one of the founders of Friends Field, helped build the fields and built with others, the community center, I think this is sacrilegious not to look at alternatives. I also question the numbers being bandied about and think they should be peer reviewed. As a developer, I know how numbers move, and I know how estimates do not come to reality. But most importantly, reevaluation is key in a private-public partnership with you and the city working together with the community to find the best answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, Emily Yulhorn, and I am here tonight just to advocate for civility. There's been mostly civil tonight, but it has not been civil out in the community. And I would like to ask everyone in this room tonight to continue to speak their truth and with their passion, but do it with the respect that this elected body deserves in their deliberative process. They have a fiduciary duty, they have a duty to our children, they have a duty to the community as a whole, and I know they take that very seriously. So I hope that the speech will be elevated tonight, and more than that, I hope that what happens after tonight out in the community in private meetings is civil and respectful. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to call everyone up in groups of 5. Thank you. We have Matthew Cromar, Mark Chavez, Hillary Dufresne, I'm sorry for, Michael Kahn, and Catherine Baggett. I think that's us. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Matthew Cromar, class of 86, go Panthers, Panthers, right? Born and raised in Mill Valley, lived here my whole life, went to this school, and I think you didn't inherit a problem, as one of the previous persons said. I think you inherited a solution after the title search showed that the Mill Valley School District does in fact own the property that Love Field sits on. I think that there's a great opportunity here to put the school over there. I think there's probably, you're underestimating the costs that are going to incur by doing temporary school facilities here and throughout the other schools in town. And I think, you know, while it's great to have that field right off of the community center, it's just a nice 100 or so foot walk along a beautiful marsh over to what could be Love Field 2. So anyway, I think it's a great idea, and I think you guys should move forward with it. Thanks.
Thank you. I will ask that everyone withhold any applause for either way. And any group comments, yes, thank you. Thank you.
I'm Mark Chavez, and as a person who's a lawyer and as a person who's served on over a dozen organizations' board of directors over the course of the last 40 years, I want to offer a suggestion that I'd like you guys to consider, and that is, I think this is a situation where you need to get some independent legal advice that is focused on the issue about whether or not there is going to be cost savings here, because that appears to be what's driving this decision. I don't think you've adequately accounted for the regulatory hurdles that you would have to overcome to build on Friends Field, or the litigation risk that you would be assuming if you go forward with that decision. And I'm not suggesting that I would undertake any litigation. I'm not making any threats. I'm just saying that you, as a board of directors, in considering your fiduciary responsibilities, also need to assess the risk in terms of the legal issues that you would be involved in potentially down the line.
Thank you. And then we have Hillary. Oh, who do we have next? We had Hillary?
Hilaire.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
It's Hilaire Dufresne. I'm Hilaire Dufresne. I'm a 49-year resident of Mill Valley, former art commissioner, planning commissioner, Fall Arts Festival board member, and Pop Warner coach. I'm also an architect and a manager of a professional consulting firm for project management and design management. I'm well aware of Linacus and AECom. They're fully capable of doing a very effective plan on this existing campus. I have tried to build and have built on landfills in my career. It doesn't work. It does not work. You've got settlement, you've got whole big issues that you have to address, and that will drive your costs exponentially. I urge you to not consider anything other than maybe temps over there for a while as you build your project on the field.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we have Michael.
Hi, good evening. My name is Michael Can. I'm a lifelong resident of Mill Valley and most recently the president of Mill Valley Little League. Tonight, I'm here to talk about collaboration, or at least ask for it. For 70 years, Mill Valley Little League and the sports teams in Mill Valley have worked collaboratively with the community and with the city. We didn't agree on direction oftentimes, but we shared a common mission, and that mission was the kids, provide a safe environment for kids to have fun. I believe we share the same mission, and that is the kids. So tonight, I respectfully ask that instead of making unilateral decisions in a vacuum, that you work collaboratively with your community partners, take feedback and find a solution rather than making a simple decision, not a simple decision, but a decision that's going to impact thousands of kids on an annual basis for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine? Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Catherine Baggett, and I'm actually an outlier here in Mill Valley. I've lived here for 25 years, homeowner for 15. I'm single with no children, but I have godchildren, and all my friends have kids that have gone through this school system. I'm very surprised, without knowing how the school board works, that I personally keep very engaged in the city, and it seems like 35 days is a very short period of time for you all to make this very important decision. I also feel like it doesn't seem like it's a well thought out plan to take out the community gathering areas and the places where the sports and community use is used. I don't understand how the safety of the children that are from 2 weeks old to 95 years old that are using the community center in Friends Field is going to be safer here on this area, where the presentation that the gentleman made said that they want to make it safer for the middle schoolers, not being so close to Camino Alto, but middle schoolers, know hopefully not to be jumping in the road like a 6-month-old or someone with dementia who's 95 wouldn't. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, the next 5 people, we have Juliet Mohit, Jerry LeBay, Dennis Rom, Juliet Hart, and Aaron Fraser.
Oh, it's behind us. That's what. Hi, I'm Juliet Mohit. I'm a core teacher here at Mill Valley Middle School and a member of the Mill Valley community since I first moved here in 1974, before the community center, before Friends Field, and just after this building was opened. As someone who has seen Mill Valley through nearly 50 years of change, I feel it's important to think about the long term of MVMS. People have raised concerns about the loss of green space in the fields and the community center's importance in the community. My son played baseball and soccer on those fields. But if I, as a parent, had to choose, I would prioritize having a better school in the long run if it meant having to be creative about field space in the short run. Maybe that's just me, but I hope that the community stops and takes this long view. It may be that during the construction, there is a period of displacement and some activities have to find alternative locations. But if it means that in the long run, we have a better school for Mill Valley, it will be worth it. Remember that this is a public middle school where all the children of Mill Valley can go now, and where children from our community in Mill Valley will be going for many years to come. Please seriously consider this new option.
Thank you. Oh, please, I'm going to ask that we refrain from applause. Thank you. That applies to whatever side you're on.
Hello, I'm Jerry LeBay. I'm the president of the Mill Valley Friends of Parks and Recreation. We're supported by over 600 Mill Valley families who are very interested in our fields and have contributed hundreds of thousands of dollars to maintain the fields, including recently $50,000 for the renovation of Friends Field. So it's a topic that's near and dear to our heart. We believe that the Friends Field is a beautiful and beloved community resource that has great synergies with the community center, used by thousands of kids every year, hundreds every day, and we strongly urge you to consider other sites for the middle school. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it the other Juliet?
I had Dennis Rom.
Okay.
Denise? Denise?
Okay.
Correct? Okay. Thank you. So you're the other Juliet.
I'm the other Juliet, yes. Hi, I'm a resident of Mill Valley. I have a kid that just finished Mill Valley Middle School and is heading in next year. And I'm a climate scientist and an oceanographer. For the record, I don't really think we should be rebuilding on this site, but if you insist, I just wanted to note, I have some maps here and I will follow up and send them. I don't know if I can share them with you now, but the proposed new site is much better from a sea level rise and climate perspective. You will not see projection sea level rise flooding until about 1.5 meters, which is about 5 feet, which is end of century. There will be some potential temporary flood risk. And then the other thing you have to think about is groundwater rise, and you're not necessarily seeing that here. The biggest flood risk to Mill Valley, it's a citywide issue, and the city and the district should be working together 100%. But the biggest threat is on the roads, Camino Alto and Miller Ave. You have 3 points of entry to the middle school as it currently stands that are highly vulnerable to sea level rise. If you move it to the new site, you will now have 2 points of entry that are less vulnerable, so you'll have access opportunity. That's it.
Thank you.
I'll pass the maps if, I don't know if I can.
Or you can hand them to Erin, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Erin Frazier. I'm a teacher at Edna McGuire, and I was born and raised in Mill Valley. I can see many reasons why it makes sense to explore the option of building on the Friends Field location. Obviously, eliminating the need for interim housing is a huge advantage because you could save millions. It would be irresponsible of the board to not consider this alternative due to the possibility for savings. When Mill Valley voters supported this bond measure, they did it with faith that the funds would be used efficiently and responsibly. In addition, learning could continue as usual in the current NVMS classrooms until the new school is ready. We know that many families are feeling anxious about how their child's middle school experience could be disrupted by the construction of the new middle school. By building on this alternate site, you can ensure an uninterrupted middle school experience for students over the entire course of construction. I also understand that the new plan would include creating new and improved fields for Mill Valley community use. And it's exciting to imagine what these beautiful new green spaces could look like and how they could be used by all ages of Mill Valley citizens for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Right now, I think we will go to, we have 3 people online. We have Mark Lieberman, Emily Montalvan, and Ashley Ravesh. So could we hear from Mark Lieberman, please? Okay, so maybe you guys can, yeah, okay, so thank you. We'll hear from Laura Fisco, Laura Gibble Fisco. And then Julie Bremer.
Hi, I'm Laura Gibble Fisco. I'm new to the community and my husband grew up here, family's all here. And from what I've experienced being involved with Parks and Rec and sitting on the meetings, they really need the fields. We need the fields for the kids, for the outdoor activity. There's already a battle going on between everything. And the history that I've heard being put into the field, I feel like more discussion would be necessary before something like this is decided on. Okay.
Thank you. Is Julie Bremer here? Oh, there you are. Okay. And then we will take the 3 online. Thank you. We do. We have a PDF. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Julie Bremer. I hold many hats in this community. I am a parent of 3 boys, 2 of which will be at the middle school during this construction. I'm also a teacher at Edna McGuire School, and I work throughout the rebuild of our new school. I'm also a voter in Mill Valley who voted in support of Measure G to build a new middle school. First, as a parent of 3 boys who absolutely adore sports and have spent so much time on these fields, I absolutely understand and sympathize with the parents in Mill Valley who are upset about the field space. We are active members of the community and my boys all play for Mill Valley Little League and Mill Valley Soccer Club. However, this is a temporary inconvenience in that end that will, in the end, will benefit all public school students in Mill Valley. Plus, this is a potential opportunity to create new field space for our kids. What if we could build an all-weather field space in place of the current middle school? My kids would be thrilled. As a Mill Valley voter who voted for Measure G, I expect that money to be used responsibly. The board has a duty to make the best financial decisions for our district. It would be irresponsible of the board not to consider this option due to the potential millions of dollars of savings. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, can we go online to Mark Lieberman?
Hi. Hopefully you can hear me. I don't know if you can or not, but I am for moving the school over to Friends Field. I'm a father of two
Sorry,
here.
Mark, do you want to hold on, we're having an audio problem.
Okay,
We're gonna, you can start over and your minute has not started.
okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Not yet.
Not well.
Oh. How about now?
Oh, yes, thank you. Go
Okay,
ahead.
great. Father of two boys in Mill Valley, one in middle school, one soon to be in middle school. And even though they won't get to experience probably the middle school at we're on the Friends Field location right now, I am entirely for looking deeply into that move and think it would be a good thing. I've always wondered why we ever built a middle school next to a sewage plant. I know that technology has gotten better with sewage, but accidents still happen. And I know that in the past, there's been, shelter in places and things like that. And that just befuddles me as to why children are put in that kind of a situation, including the teachers. And I think it's a great idea to move it closer to, the other street and get it away from that sewage plant. And it's a temporary dislocation for a lot of sports teams. We love sports, but I think we have enough spaces in the local area, including Tiburon, where we could make up the difference for a couple of years and then have some beautiful fields built where the current school is. So thank you, and I implore you to continue looking at this.
Thank you, Mark. Next we have Emily Montavon. Okay, we're gonna go to Ashley. Oh, okay, sorry, only one showed up on the screen. Ashley Ravesh. Sorry, Ravashay, thank you. Go ahead, Ashley, you have 1 minute if you are there.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Ashley Ravashay. I'm a parent of Mill Valley Middle School, as well as Edna and Southern Marin Lacrosse, girls lacrosse family as well. I am strongly opposed to the temporary relocation of the school facilities on Friends Field. A temporary loss of the field will disproportionately impact girls' youth sports, which rely on Friends Field as part of the lottery system for youth sports. It is no secret that girls' sports season are already out of sync seasonally, and that the priority of all other fields in Mill Valley go to other sports, particularly boys' teams. And it is critical that the school board does not violate Title IX by its decision to remove, even temporarily, access to Friends Fields for access of girls' youth sports. Given the additional comments tonight, I would also like an evaluation by public safety agencies before any decision to relocate, even temporarily, school facilities on a field that is landfilled and not particularly suitable for structures. We are in a flood zone, we are in a fire zone, and this is an incredible component to your decision making. Thank you.
Ashley, thank you. Do we have Emily? Okay, Emily is here. Okay.
Hi.
Hi,
Can you
Emily.
hear me?
You have 1 minute.
Hi.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Emily Montalvan, and I have two kids that are in the Mill Valley School District currently. One of them will be experiencing the transition next year at the middle school. I also grew up in Mill Valley and went to Mill Valley Middle School. And at first, when I heard about this, I thought, oh, great idea. That would be great if we didn't have to work around the construction right at the same site. As I thought about it longer and thought about my experience at the middle school and at the community center over the years, I am not in support of this idea. I think that the community center has been built up over these decades and has become an amazing place for the whole community. I remember it from the 1980s and 90s, and it was a small building that didn't provide a lot of opportunity. Now I look at it, it's beautifully set up with a beautiful field in front of it, and I'm really proud of what they've done. So I think it would be a disservice to the community if they didn't have a beautiful field in front of their buildings that they've created. So I would like you to keep the previous plan to construct closer to the school.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have a number of more in person. Thank you all for being patient. We have Michael Strogoff. I think I read that right. Lex Campbell. Liz Moriarty. Dean Alper and Jamie Johnson, please. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Michael Strogoff. I'm a longtime Mill Valley resident, also an architect, a lot of master planning experience like these gentlemen have. And there might be another way of looking at this because you might be able to accomplish replacing it in place if you looked at construction phasing, maybe taking one wing or two wings down at a time, reducing the cost of the temporary classrooms. You might be able to look at some operational changes in terms of different shifts. You might be able to look at perhaps, using empty classroom space at Tam High. I just want to encourage you to take a step back and look at alternatives because it doesn't have to be this site or that site. It could be, how do we accomplish it on this site and leave Friends Field alone? Thank you.
Thank you. And Lex Campbell?
Thank you, Board. I'm a parent here in Mill Valley, had two kids that went through the school here and also participated in sports. I'm here to support the opinions of the Mill Valley Soccer Club and the youth clubs here. As you may know, if you've been involved in sports here, field space is a huge factor. So I urge you to speak and collaborate with those organizations to come up with a solution to mitigate what would be either the temporary or permanent loss of sports fields. Thank you.
Thank you. Liz, thank you.
I'm Liz Moriarty. I have three boys, two in Mill Valley School District, one in high school. They are huge sports players. We are on these fields a lot, particularly lacrosse. There's definitely a field shortage. That said, I feel like your primary duties are to the students of Mill Valley and to be good stewards of this money. And I don't see how you cannot seriously consider this alternative. It will save a lot of money. We could end up with a wonderful all-weather field, which we really do need because half of our season is rained out on these fields right now. And also, I feel like everyone talking about building a school next to the community center is acting like a prison block is going there. It's not. It's a school. It's a school that most of our kids go to. And it could be beautiful. It could be an extension. It's not going to diminish from the community center. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Dean Alper?
To all the board and the community, Dean Alper. What I'd like to emphasize is values over what I see as expediency. And what I mean is more than 25 years ago, a need was perceived for a community center. A need was perceived for the fields and so forth. And through an extraordinary public-private partnership, we were able to come together and build what is the crown jewel of Mill Valley. This was a wasteland before that, and now you know how much love and care all of us have for what we were able to generate. At the time, I was on the chair of the Parks and Rec Commission. I was the chair of the Building Commission that built the community center and the fields. I know that it was built because of love, caring, and trying to create the most opportunity for the children of this community. I commend you all to read the letter from the city manager that he distributed to this evening. And I say that to the board and to all the people that are here tonight because it's eloquent and persuasive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Jamie Johnson.
Hi, my name's Jamie Johnson. I am the mom of two kids at Strawberry Point, one of whom will be entering the middle school when the construction is scheduled to begin. And as a very involved member in this community, I just want to say I fully support exploring this new site as an option, knowing it will provide the least amount of disruption to our students and our school community, and with the added bonus of saving the school district and the taxpayers several $1 million. Thanks very much.
Thank you. And we have four more. You have, Chris, I don't have a public comment form for you.
Okay, can I?
No.
Participate?
I'm sorry, we closed public comment earlier. Sorry, thank you. We have Wendy Verrett, Mike Novotny, Michelle Passero, and John Palmer. And that concludes public comment.
Hi, my name is Wendy Verrett. I'm a parent of two children in Mill Valley Schools, and I also represent the board of the Mill Valley Soccer Club. So I have more of a question for you that I'm hoping that you'll consider answering. Friends Fields is used by thousands of athletes and services hundreds of teams and hundreds of practices each year across a multitude of sports. If we lose this field space, we will likely lose it for at least 2 years, probably longer, given how we all know construction goes. And as you know, Mill Valley School District, or Mill Valley has very limited field space. So what I'd like to understand is what are your plans to continue the development and the engagement of these athletes while this school would potentially be built on this space? What is your plan to provide field space for these kids and to work with community to provide field space for these kids? Also, we don't think you have adequately accounted for the budget of building fields on the old site, particularly since turf fields cost a lot of money. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Novotny. And although I love Friends Fields and my kids use it all the time, I have multiple kids that are coming through the middle school and be impacted by the construction. And it seems to me the priority should be education for you all, but also for our community. And since we're rebuilding the fields, what we're really saying is we're going to spend millions of dollars per year to maintain these for a couple of years. It's going to cost us millions of dollars per year for these fields. And that just doesn't make sense to me. I think we can come up with other options for the sports. And I appreciate if you will prioritize education for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. Almost the last word, I guess. I'm Michelle Passero, and I have two kids, 3rd and 5th grade, that will be coming through the middle school. So, and they also use Friends Field. You know, they're involved in Little League and soccer. So, you know, it's an important area for us too. I just want to let you know that I strongly support you exploring this option. My day job, I work on climate change issues and conservation, similar to another colleague and friend of mine who just spoke on sea level rise. And so for all the reasons that you flagged in your presentation, and also for climate change and what, you know, we might face here in this area in terms of flooding, I think this issue should be explored. I'm excited to see what happens in this space. And so if we can think about, you know, maybe over these next 45 days, if you are exploring this option, really thinking about what this space could look like and creating a vision for that could help excite people, including us, in terms of what we can do for our kids and their field space. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, John Palmer, 54-year resident of Mill Valley, 15-year Little League coach, president of one of the local homeowners associations. Putting a school building on Friends Field is a bad idea. If I had more than a minute, I'd be happy to tell you why. I'm a builder. You have several builders here who, and one of the actually wonderful things about Mill Valley is the broad skill set of a lot of your citizens. They're involved, they're smart, they're accomplished, and you have very smart, accomplished people who are telling you this is a bad idea. I also think that it's really important for this board to consider what would be like to go up against the city council and the city manager and the mayor of Mill Valley, all of whom think this is a bad idea. I strongly urge you to consider other options and to work cooperatively with the city as opposed to in opposition to the city.
Thank you very much. That concludes public comment.
Know how they can get a hold of us through letters to the board.
Yes, anyone else who would like to comment, or if you had something written out and you were not able to read it completely, we welcome. We are reading every email. I'll be honest, I could not get through all my emails today, but we are reading them. So always letters to the board. Thank you. You can, I forget.
And we will also post it. I think it's letters to the Board of Trustees.
I don't write to myself, so I don't.
Letters to the Board of Trustees, all one word, at mvschools.org. If you send to me as well, I've been trying to make sure that I print everything I get and give it to Sid so that we can keep a running record of who's contacting us about what, but additionally, you know, give you some type of response that we've received your information. We will also try to compile the points as they've come in. Probably won't be done for tomorrow's agenda release, but it will be done as we did previously for Measure G when there were concerns about our use of this facility.
Thank you. We will now go back to our design team here. And we're going to open it up for board discussion, deliberation, questions, et cetera. Question you need? Oh, okay.
So we are short $20 million, right? So my understanding is, that we're assuming that right now $20 million will come from the state passing its bond measure. That I understand. But could you explain to me and to the public when that cash will come? Because my understanding is optimistically 3 years from the date we file for the funding, we apply for the funding. So realistically, we're not getting that money until 2027 and 2028. And I would like to also understand, you said $130 million for construction, but that does not include soft costs, which is, I think, around $65–70 million. So we need $194 million plus just to build a middle school. And we don't have any money to modernize our elementary schools until we get funding from 2028. And my understanding from asking questions to you was this, that that we need to spend, we cannot delay planning for the elementary school modernization because we only have 4 years to spend the money, right, since the bond measure has been passed.
That was a lot of questions.
Yeah, that was a lot of questions. So like, yeah, sorry about that. I'm just rambling on.
One question at a
yeah.
time, yeah.
Yeah, we are short 20. Yeah, we're short $20 million. And we won't get that $20 million until 2007, 2028, right? That was my understanding from our discussion.
So the state of California is obliged to fund schools at a rate depending on if it's new construction or modernization. And what we've determined here is that you have about $20 million in modernization or new construction eligibility.
Yes.
Based on work that's either been done or you're going to do. The funds that are available at the statewide level now have been expended on other projects. So that money is dependent on the passage of a school bond in 2024.
The new statewide school bond.
Statewide, yeah.
Yes.
I could not at this point speculate for you what the wait time is. I would have to know how many others are on the waiting list right now. And that really is a question that we could get answered through Krista Long, who's your eligibility specialist, but I couldn't speculate just now.
So how long did it take for us to receive the funding for Edna construction? We just received them, right? And when did Edna finish construction?
We're actually in the process of applying to get reimbursed.
For Edna.
So it would be essentially the same length of time to get that funding too. And we're looking, I believe it's around $1 million just in reimbursement for Edna.
So it will take us years to get that extra $20 million.
Based on what Chris had presented to the board before, it could take between 3 and 5 years.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? Trustee Stern-Sachaj.
So I've heard some comments around, back to finances for a moment, the cost of, for example, Friends Field and bringing it to, I'm not in your space, so I don't know your exact wording, but, where it can be ready for build versus this particular site. Could you speak to, or is that something that you can share with us February 8th, as I know that this is, you're going to be gathering questions that you will have answers for, but is there anything you can share with us that might clarify the cost differential?
And so just so I understand your question, this is to clarify building here on this side of the property versus Friends Field in terms of the differences of how we where kind of we're looking at in terms of additional mitigation or just kind of the different costs that we're going to be looking at?
Right. And and one of the comments I heard is, in conversations with people is that we have to go through a process with regulatory authorities on this site that perhaps we don't hear. So could you speak to that?
Yeah, and I'll let Sandrine talk about the environmental process that we're going to go to regardless of any point of this site that we will and where we're at this point. And then Ryan can talk about just the different things that they're putting into their estimation on the other part.
Right. So as far as environmental process, and we've been talking about that for many months now. And I believe the last board meeting, we had an explanation of all the steps and where we are.
regardless of where we build on this property, it is still a landfill. So the process is going to be the same. There wouldn't be added time or it is essentially not better or not worse. It is the same situation. We received feedback from the environmental engineer team that you met last time, as well as the geotechnical engineer, and same opinion. It would be essentially the same situation as building on this portion of the site as we were previously looking at.
I could hit on the cost side. So I'm Ryan with Flint. We have a team of estimators that work schools across the state, from down in Southern California, Bay Area, then also Sacramento. So they worked on mostly all schools. And so our cost studies are pretty close. There's some discrepancies, but we carry contingencies for those. But we had $15 million for the temp housing. And so when we go over to the new field site, it's going to save around 6 to 8 million. That's a conservative number. And the reason why it's not saving the whole 15 million is because it's an extra 3 acres over there. So site work, utilities need to be done on that site. And then we'll also be building the new field. So that's the cost, the differential between the two.
Thank you.
So
Go ahead, sorry. I'm taking
since
up.
it seems like we have a lot of new people, and I know we've all vetted you all very well, but it seems like there are some people who are not aware of your credentials or concern we might not have experts who can well advise us. So I would love if you could share with our audience some of your background and your expertise in school building and development and financing and all of those areas.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Brett Mitchell and Sandrine start from the AECOM side, and then we'll have Ryan talk about Flint and their expertise.
Want me to go first?
Right.
Well, I'll unabashedly say I'm an educator first. I did start my career in construction, but I spent 20 years in the classroom or as a principal as a high school math and physics teacher. I was high school principal, assistant superintendent. Before sort of, I guess later in life, I took on a passion for school facilities, really understanding that the built environment really affects how students learn. So it's been my passion. I retired from public education, and now I try and help school districts build quality facilities for their students.
It's Sandrine Hitchcock. My background is architecture. I'm a licensed architect in the state of California. I've been working in California for the last 25 years. I started my career the first 15 years doing public schools, 100% public schools, then moved into private sector type of projects, but essentially came back into the public school realm with Brett. I'm really looking forward to actually, I mean, it's something that I really care about, just helping communities and kids.
Okay. Yeah, my name is, I introduced myself already. So I grew up, and my dad was electrical contractor, a subcontractor. So the day I could walk, I was digging trenches and in attics. And then I ended up starting working at Flint about 10 years ago. So I've been with Flint. But our construction background, there's a whole team behind me, estimators, project managers, superintendents that have a wealth of knowledge, from 65-year-olds to 24-year-olds just out of college. So there's a ton of expertise behind me.
And I just want to talk about the construction method that we use for this, that we're using for this project and our other projects, is we're using a lease back method. And one of the benefits of why we're doing that is because early on, so we brought on AECOM, which are construction manager folks who will be on the ground when we're building the school, when we're doing our projects, as well as they're helping us with Measure G, doing the program side. But in addition to that, we're able to bring on Flint early on. General contractor, typically they would come in later in the project, as well as they're not here represented tonight, but we have Lionakis, who's our architect for the middle school. And so early on, as we're doing our estimation, there's 3 levels of really of everybody's checking each other's books. So we have AECom doing their, checking the estimations. We have Flint, there's doing their own in-house. We have Lionel is doing their in-house. So we're making sure that we have multiple sets of folks working the numbers, and we have AECom on top of that, kind of looking at both to make sure that their in-house estimator is also doing a review. And so really the reason and the rationale for the lease back is the architect and the general contractor are able to come in early on to work on this collectively for the planning stages as we're building out the drawings, as well as, so the whole process is meant to be collaborative. And so it's having all the parties in-house at the same time. And so I think that's one of the best things that we're seeing. And now is, as we're going through these different iterations of options and looking at different things, we're able to kind of have those three sets of folks kind of look at that all independently, but at the same time work together.
If I may just add too, I talked about myself a little bit, and I'm a disservice. I didn't really talk to you a little bit about the quality work I think that AECom brings to the district. We are in many districts all over the nation. We're in 5 of the 7 largest school districts in the state of California, including I spent my day across the bridge in San Francisco Unified. So we really understand what you all are going through, what you need to do, and we have a tremendous amount of reach back resources, and really passionate about, how we can help you solve the issues here and deliver a wonderful school.
I have if you have a follow-up, go ahead. Oh, no, it was just about the 68 million savings. And one thing that we liked, of course, is, it's almost like clash detection on cost estimates that you guys are doing with 3 different entities. So are we in alignment with the Flint's estimation of 68 million? Okay.
Yes.
And that 6 to 8 million comes back into the project. So add more value for the students.
While we are at that topic, but that doesn't, so if we are, let's say we were spending $15 million on our temporary housing for the students, we will need some kind of bridge financing, correct? In order for us to initiate the elementary school constructions? Or delay them until 2017? I mean, what are our options? Because I'm, my understanding is if we're going to stay with $194 million, we could only renovate versus rebuild a middle school and spend $15–16 million to spend on our elementary school. Or if we are rebuilding it, we need to spend $194 million on this site, but wait for the state financing for the other $20 million until 2027 and 2020 and go through the process all over again, right? Because we have 4 years to spend that money, or we need bridge financing, right?
Yeah, so I think, let me just repeat back what I heard.
Yeah.
And hopefully answer. Bridge financing intimates that we don't have money to start. That's not the case.
Yeah.
We can start. It's just that we're going to be finished quicker than you can because of assessed valuation and the way the bonds are underwritten.
Yeah.
We can't finish until we finish before the last issuance of bonds. That's the bridge. It's at the end, not at the beginning.
Okay. But how are we going to finance the elementary school modernization? We won't have the money until we get the state funding. And if the new bond measure doesn't pass, we don't have any money for elementary schools, right?
So part of the process that we're going to bring forward to the board on February 8th is going to be to discuss the overall budget for the middle school, project. And as you were kind of outlining the steps of what we're going to be in terms of financing is, so one of the main milestones is going to be the state's November expected ballot initiative for state financing. And that's where the 20 million that we're already working on some portion of it, but also for future projects that we're going to be putting in. So that's one piece of the solution that will be evaluated at this time. And then secondly, as we're exploring the middle school, going through the environmental process, we're going to understand how much of our contingencies are going to be needed for the mitigations, for the environmental work, to really understand, right now, as been discussed, we have conservative environmental costs for mitigation, meaning we want to make sure we have it all covered. And so we will understand kind of once we get past that process and at the end of that process and past the schematic design process is really boiling it down how much money it's going to really cost once all that data has come through and fleshed out. And then at that point, we'll have an understanding of what is the delta, what is the difference that we will need. And then once we evaluate the bond passing, and if they change how quickly the monies are put out, that's one of the things that are being discussed is being able to efficiently put that money out quicker. That's wait to be seen and how that all gets put together. But we will be able to understand at that point to see if we indeed need additional financing, or how much more financing we need to be able to complete the projects.
Trustee Abdoli?
So I would love to talk about fields because obviously that's the concern. I'm a Little League family. I know we have some soccer families. So the two questions, one is I'm hearing that the savings includes allocation for a new field. I'd love, personally to make sure that within that process, if we can get input, because I know one of the things, like we drive to Novato for wintertime baseball fields that are turf. Like it'd be awesome if we could within our process find ways to really incorporate, we've talked Little League, we've heard from soccer, making sure that we build something better so it's worth it, because we recognize if we go down this, there is disruption. So how do we really create something that makes any pain worth it? And then the second part of that question is, what can we do in the interim? Do we have any facilities on our school sites that maybe we can remodel or kind of get up to speed so that maybe they can provide temporary field options in addition to collaborating with the city, but maybe make more of our fields available during this process?
I think preliminary, we've looked at our fields, and so that's something that we can explore further and be able to get you more information about what is possible in terms of our fields and how we can maybe help deliver different options from whether it's Tam Valley, Strawberry, or Edna McGuire. So we'll look at that and try to come to tell you guys what are options, if any, in terms of our fields, given that the amount of space that we have currently right now. But the second piece is, I don't want to get ahead of Superintendent Kaufman in terms of how we would get feedback from the community about the fields, but I imagine just like we're doing now, whether it's community meetings, whether it's setting up a committee, I imagine we would do something like that to make sure that we get the feedback needed as we determine what are the, as we're kind of moving forward, if that's the decision the board would like in terms of that option.
Thank you. Trustee Katz? Oh, sorry.
So just to confirm what I heard Sandrine sharing before, or maybe it was Julio, but if we were to move forward with feeling like this was a viable option worth considering, then it wouldn't be until the March meeting that multiple options would be presented following community feedback sessions and an additional steering committee meeting to be able to say, these are the options and make a decision based on that, or am I understanding?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Could you repeat what you just said when you said that's correct for those people who, like me, might have attention deficit?
Absolutely. So again, today, and I think Sharon said it at the beginning several times, there's no decision today. We are just asking to explore an additional option. And this additional option will be presented again next week at the February 8th meeting with the other options we've been exploring and refining so far. So again, until March, when we will ask you for direction, there will not be a decision on whether or not we're building on the fields or not. There will be community meetings. There will be another steering committee meeting. There is more opportunities to provide feedback to the district. So there's really going to be that period of time allowing us to better refine that option and validate whether or not it is a good option for the district, but also allow people to further provide comments.
Okay, sorry, I think Trustee Yu was first, then I'll go to you. Please turn to Judge.
You have included the cost of potentially building new fields, right? In your estimate, net savings?
Yeah, all the cost difference between the temp housing going over to their and the new acreage, and then also the new fields. And we have a very conservative number, so it could be more. We could save more than that, but that's the conservative that we want to tell you guys. Make
So-
sure we don't go over budget.
So right now, how much are you assuming for the field construction costs? Like estimate, very rough.
It's, right now it's very programming, but I believe it's about $7 million.
Okay.
Can I just ask a related question?
Sure.
Just in putting together the costs, were you assuming grass or turf fields?
I believe it's grass right now.
Okay.
Yeah, we would have to do, I mean, it's very early on, so we haven't really decided on what we want to go as a community.
Is turf typically more expensive?
Yes, it would be.
All right, thank you.
Significantly,
Um,
or
it would be,
20%?
it would be more. We'd have to take a look at it
Okay.
and meet with my estimators, but it would be more money, probably a couple million more.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot
So-
for the.
I have three questions, but two relate to comments that I heard, and they're related. Is that field, generationally has evolved to be what people call the crown jewel of Mill Valley, creates the synergy between all of our resources here. And, I've been sitting with that. And, I feel that between now and March, we need to be clear about the cost of that. And, it's really, you may not be able to put a dollar amount on it. However, I do want to share that as an educator, for those of you who don't know, I was the first class here in the middle school. And yes, Clifford knows, it was the crown jewel of middle schools. It was so revolutionary, and we had open classrooms for those of you who remember those days. And I do want to share my perspective is that we must evolve, and we must think about who's our ultimate customer here. It's not the adults. I don't see a child here. So I'm saying to you that I want to honor the history because we need to teach that to our children. Mill Valley draws parents and families here because of this ethos of community that we've had here that's many, many hundreds of years, right down to the Miwok Indians. And yet we must evolve, and as a board member, I must understand my charge. So can you come prepared in February to show a plan that is going to make our community see how we honor the space and honor the configuration and the beauty of it, but can somehow bring something that might enhance that? Because we're bringing our most precious people, it's our children, to that space. And the opportunity I see is enormous for how we might actually have a rebirth of the community center and actually bring all our kids there and collaborate, which I heard tonight. The other is the fields, how we are fiercely competitive in this town, and athletics matter. And I can tell you, as a Dipsy runner, and my sister who went through soccer, that she went and played at Cal because of the fine soccer teams we had here back in the day. So how are we going to mitigate the serious concerns continuing our sports in those 2 years? Should this be a viable option? And then how are we going to engage our community to have the best field here? Because I'll need to hear those things to decide that that is our best option. So maybe, I'm sorry I was long-winded, but if you could speak to those concepts, and maybe Superintendent Kaufman with also how are we going to interface with our community? I'd like to hear some thoughts on that. So whoever wants to begin.
Go first.
Just as we know, our agenda goes out tomorrow for next Thursday's meeting. We need to have board guidance on the scope of the budget for our project before we can begin bringing forward designs that show us what we might be able to provide for our community. And, the concern, of course, for everyone is the urgency of the timeline and the escalation of costs. I do anticipate that following the February 8th meeting, we will have the opportunity to re-engage our steering committee. They have not had the opportunity to engage in this conversation because we needed to find out if the board would give us guidance on considering the fields before we could engage them further. So they will be looking at options, field options, as well as design options that will come to the board in March. And I do think, we will be considering what the pricing is. And again, listening to our community between now and the March meeting as well. I think we are very aware of the aesthetic concerns, the environmental concerns. I think it is going to be a balance for us to determine, what are the best recommendations that, staff can come forward with once we get a little opportunity to look further. However, again, we do not have guidance yet on the budget, and we would need guidance on whether or not to pursue the fields as an option prior to moving forward.
Can you speak to the design concepts I mentioned and also field interim and ongoing?
Sure. So over the last few weeks, we've been working with Lionakis, our architect, on the preparation for the February 8th meeting, which will include essentially a visual of what it could be. We've have had quite or many conversation about obviously how would it work with the community center? How would the building sit on the site? So there is definitely consideration for what would be adjacent to the new middle school. And I will definitely let Laura talk more about it at the next meeting. But yes, there is definitely consideration and definitely intent to work in sync with what is already built.
Thank you. Oh, go ahead, trustee.
So ideally, this is a comment, as you know, and may not know, we don't have money to build a new gym facility. And to the extent that this board is considering, or if we decide on building the new middle school and the Friends Field, and all this becomes the sports fields, I would, and if there's money to be had, it would be amazing to build indoor sports facility that could also be used as a community that in harmony with the outside fields.
Thank you. Are there any, yes, trustee Katz? No, this is an important topic, please. I don't want to, we're not limited to 3 questions or anything.
Brian, we've talked about this in prior board meetings. You haven't been at the dais for that. But I heard some concerns raised from a community member about by having the construction further away from our students, then we are just putting somebody else closer to construction. Can you speak to many of the community members here who are not part of that meeting around any safety standards and mitigation that you put in place regardless of what it's beside and who's the neighbor?
Yeah, absolutely. So we work a ton of occupied campuses. So putting them over in the fields, it would be away from the students, it would be closer to the community center, but everything would be fenced off and there wouldn't be anyone on that site. So really the only risk that would happen would be for our workers. We have the highest safety standards across the board. And we're like Golden Gate OSHA, Cal Sharp OSHA. So those are the highest awards you could get for your safety program. And then from like a noise pollution too, it would be farther away from the kids. So they wouldn't be hearing construction's loud. So there's going to be some disturbance, but it would be farther away from disturbing the kids as well.
And I guess the question was kind of getting at, because it would then be closer to the community center, I think then the concerns of the parents now shifts to the concerns of the people who are using that throughout the day. So if you could speak to that, and maybe also hours of construction, when that's typically happened to be least disruptive.
Yeah, the city ordinance normally has a noise pollution or noise time that you could go. So it's normally 7 to 7. I'm not sure what Mill Valley is at this point. I would have to take a look at that. So we'd work between those hours. And then, like I said, it will be fenced off. So all construction work will be away from the kids and from the community center.
Thank you.
And can I just add, just for your question, the process that we're going to go through with the state for our environmental review is there's going to be part of the process is to come up with one, like the amount of soil samplings, all the data that they need, but also what are gonna be the mitigation efforts that we have to do. So whether it's at the community center or whether it's here, it's gonna be safe for the people around it. And so that's what I just want to highlight, that it's gonna be it's a rigorous process that we will go through with environmental agencies. And it's something that there'll be oversight over. And as that process develops, there'll be public comment. It'll be something that we'll be transparent about and make sure the information that gets out so everybody knows what's happening, when it's happening, and being able to update everybody. So I just want to underline that process, we don't think that it's unsafe to do it here. We just think that there's other benefits that we've talked about, but we believe it's going to be safe based off the oversight that's needed and just based off the process. So whether it's here or there, I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, and in either, in whatever way the direction of the board goes, if we choose to do temp housing and have construction on site, it's still going to be the safest, highest standards for safety.
Thank you.
Trustee Sorensen Judge.
So we have a steering committee, and should we decide, Superintendent Kaufman, that this new site that we just learned about, a week ago Monday, is in our possession, could you speak to how we might engage new constituents, I think that have been here maybe the first time throughout our current process? How might we engage them in finding solutions or ideas for Friends Field as a possible site?
I'm sorry, I should clarify. Would this be for the March meeting or ongoing after a decision?
I think leading up to the
Okay.
March meeting.
So currently we have some opportunities for input. Again, the timeline is tight, but we are continuing to follow our prescribed process where we continue to invite members of the community broadly to community engagement meetings. A number of individuals who are in this room tonight have been invited to those meetings. And will continue to be invited to those meetings as representative of the community at large and community organizations. So we'll continue that path. We will have our next community meeting on February 13th, following our steering committee meeting. At that point, we hope to come up with a series of design options that we hand off to the architects to bring back with some recommendations and some pricing at the March 7th meeting. I imagine we'll have some additional renderings, but I think there will be a need for a scope of work committed to, and then I believe additional design pieces will move forward from there. So in general, and I'll hand it off to Sandrine and Brett in a minute, but we would be asking the board to say at the March 7th meeting, which site? Do you want 1 story or 2 stories? Do you want us to look at the full, I mean, we'll ask for the full 130 million at the February 8th meeting. And then at that point, we would iterate more with design once we have a conceptual framework that we'll work in. We do have to submit plans to DSA. That's I believe a 12-month turnaround, which is why the urgency for us is at this point, having passed the bond previously. There was a lag in terms of our beginning to get in sync as a team. And now we have a really high functioning team that's ready to go. But we do have to make up for some time to mitigate escalation. So I'll hand it over to Sandrine and Brett or Julio or Ryan.
I think you got the timeline perfectly right. Again, the March decision is really linked to if we are doing interim housing, we do need to start the design on this and get it ahead of the main middle school design, because we need permits and we need to be able to build that temporary classroom campus before we can start construction on the middle school. So that's the critical path for us.
Can you, sorry, it's just about the temporary. So can you talk a little bit about, we're trying to be good stewards of the land to do the right thing for the next generation to come take over, basically. But and part of that is being a good environmental steward. And one thing that, troubled me from the beginning is, and I'm sure you, was the cost of the temporary school. And then what happens to it after we're done? So could you elaborate on that? Because I don't think, I think it's underappreciated, the work that's going to go into that, and then the work that's just gone.
So as the name says, it is a temporary campus so that we can relocate the students while construction is ongoing. The portables that would be brought to the site would be leased portables from a manufacturer. But in order to, and again, the temporary design of that campus, the state looks at it like it could stay there 50 years, 60 years. We're designing it as a permanent facility. So that would include bringing utilities to those temporary building. That would include raising the grade because we need to comply with the floodplain requirements. So essentially designing it as a permanent campus. After the school would be built, the portables would go back to the manufacturer, but we would have to demolish all the utilities we installed, probably readjust grading, and essentially change that portion of the site. So there is, it's literally a disposable piece because we would expend the money, build something, and then take it away. And so there is definitely, there would be a saving in materials and labors and resources, right, by not doing it, but it is still an option.
And typically, because of the phasing, it's not like we are building phase 1 temp housing, and then you could use like recycled concrete content in the new thing, because we will be done when we then basically demolish the temporary school. So anything we put in is just going to a landfill. Is that correct? There's not a, I don't know if there's a chance for
Yeah, most
recovery,
things would be
reuse.
going to a recycling plant. You wouldn't be reusing any of the wire or utilities or anything like that. And the recycled concrete, you would have to be using all new stuff for it.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Josh, sorry, trustee you. So I don't know who's had their hand up.
Wanted to ask question. Do we need any, so this, what I've been reading, at least from some of the letters, is that's, because it's so near the wetlands, we might need some extra environmental work or permitting that we have to go through with the Bay Area. I forget all the acronyms, but it's
BCDC.
yeah, something, yeah. Is that going to be a lot more extra work, and have we looked into it already?
So part of the feedback we also received, we asked our CEQA consultants, it's not better, it's not worse. It is exactly the process we would need to go through on this site. We have the creek right there. We would hit same thing. It would be the exact same process. We would have to go through BCDC regardless.
So no additional jurisdictions aside from what we already have on this site?
At this point, yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you. Trustee Josh.
Yes, so there was someone that talked about how our focus should be, and I'll speak for myself, my focus should be on the educational opportunities that our decisions make. And in that context, Superintendent Kaufman, could you, from your perspective, your professional perspective, speak to the pros and cons of what essentially now, for me, are two options? One is to look at the Friends Field as a place where we would place students with potentially other buildings that become part of a larger campus, or that this is demolished and becomes the educational space. And I also, am thinking in the context of wanting to know how many years are we thinking this new building will last? This one has been here a little over 50 maybe. So I'm also trying to understand the seriousness of my decision relative to generations of future students. So maybe we could start with Dr. Kaufman, and maybe our team there can answer the second part of the question.
I think, as has been discussed this evening, everything's a short-term or long-term gain, right? So whatever we do in the short term has impacts in the long term, or whatever we do in the long term has impacts in the short term, right? So to me, when I consider what the educators in this community have asked of me, have asked of this board since I've been on board, it's to focus on the children. And immediately following our understanding that this might be an option, we began to engage our educational partners, both in VMTA and CSEA, as well as the entire middle school campus, because we wanted to know, again, what was their level of support, what impact did they see? And so a superintendent hearing for the last 6 months from parents that they don't want their children displaced, looking at our 6th grade enrollment, which has declined greatly due to concerns about disruption of middle school educational programs for the next 3 years. I will always say that one disrupted year of education lasts a lifetime. So the quality of programs that we put in front of our children are critical. Then when I look at the long term, and it is very difficult for me to disassociate the environment of the communities that are in the field, because I find them beautiful, and I don't know in my head, I'm not an expert in this area, so I don't see a bunch of different scenarios. Like in my mind, I'd be like, okay, put a building here, leave the vista there, but I am not, I don't know even what's possible. But when I look at us not building a gym, when I look at us potentially not being able to do some of the work we want to do, not just at the middle school site, but at the elementary school site, I think that is a long-term cost, again, for the children on our seats right now, but the children in this community. And my current understanding is this building has to last 50 years. So I don't know, 57 years has been a long time for me, so I can't imagine the next 50 years. My bigger concern is, what do we do inside the walls once we build them that prepares our children for the world that we don't know yet? And I think, again, the time and energy that we place on programming and building the absolute best learning environments for our children should be our #1 priority as a school district.
Thank you.
We are education first and foremost. No, that is our charge. We are, what is
Yeah.
best for students, what is best for our students. Do we have any more questions, discussion, anything?
Just comment. As a mom of a very active kid, I totally understand. I remember when there was no swimming space at Tam High School. It was really devastating to my son. And so it's not, no decisions have been made yet, but, and we understand. 3 of us are moms of 4th graders. So we really understand, and we will not make any decision lightly. But at the end of the day, I think fiscal responsibility should be our focus. And as I've said in the last board meeting, Lee, I am concerned that we do not have sufficient funds to modernize our elementary schools. And that really is a concern for me. And as a fiscal conservative, I hate having to depend on the state passing a bond measure and spend the money we don't have yet. So I think we should think hard about it. This definitely is an option, but I also think we should try to make lemonade out of lemon by maybe providing the community with much better sports complex, if we can, by saving money and building a new gym. Our gym is not that great, and it stands that we don't have money to build a new gym right now. So that's my comment as a board member.
Thank you. Trustee Surtachak, go
I
ahead.
just
please.
want to comment that, I understand I'm not making a decision tonight. I am exploring the possibility of other options. And I feel that I have heard many different voices, And I'm so appreciative of everybody who came tonight, because if we don't hear your voice, we truly can't attempt to embrace all the needs of this community as we focus on our children as our ultimate customer. So I thank you for coming, and also thank you for being here on such short notice. This is a Herculean effort, and we do appreciate you coming to help us in giving us some facts and thoughts. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Are you looking for a direction from us as a vote? I can't remember. Sorry.
It's not an action item.
a straw poll?
Yes, I think the straw poll would be
So I
sufficient.
think we are looking for direction to proceed on exploring the use of our land. And I think we'll just do a hand raised straw poll
Sure.
with that direction. Whoever supports it, raise your hand.
I just want to say, given our fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers of this community and our responsibility to the students, we have to at least understand what the options are before we rule anything out.
I completely agree. I think it would be genuinely, I feel like as an elected official, it would be a dereliction of duty to know that we could save a significant amount of money and just to say, no, we need to explore it. It's our job to explore this. And again, the word is explore. So thank you. We have
One more
one more
No, I was
comment.
gonna say, and thank you for exploring field options so that, you know, we can help address some of the concerns in the interim as part of this exploration.
And for me, what was nice from this session is I did not realize that that field would be much better from the, coastal flooding climate perspective than this site, because I wasn't aware.
Yeah, maybe ingress.
And many of you may not be aware of this. In order to mitigate, we actually thought of building the middle school where, where the parking lot is. And it turned out that space is really not good because of climate reasons. It would be much more expensive, correct, to have to deal with flooding over there than this site. So we had no choice but to find, to demolish this. But now that we have an option, I think it would be really, we're not doing our job. We don't at least explore it.
And I just want to add, besides a financial responsibility, we have an educational responsibility to pursue. So you have a lot of homework to do. We appreciate you, but we're going to need to really understand also to expand on some of what you've heard tonight, and then truly drill down on why that would be also educationally a preferred location to this current one. And I know with an past educational expert, you'll have the resources or find them to get those answers for us. Because I think that our community is very active and involved, and they're going to need to be convinced that, that we made the right decision one way or another for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much. I believe this concludes our meeting.
Adjourn the meeting.
Yeah,
at 7:10.
we can adjourn the meeting at 7:10. Thank you very much.